Over the past year, I have found myself shepherded along a wild road in search of enlightenment. Stories have taken a kind of new importance ever since. I grew up on many fun books, movies, and shows. As an adult, I am now looking back on them in a new light. Disney's 1973 animated adaptation of Robin Hood has been one of that has commanded my attention because it feels so unlike anything we make for children anymore. There is a visual and spiritual language to this movie that shocks me, a genuine nature to it that gave me a glimpse into something beautiful that we appear to be missing now. Robin Hood is a painting of a movie, using a composition of layers that work together so seamlessly that they disappear and imprint themselves on the subconscious of its viewership. I watched the film again recently, and right away I found myself smiling ear to ear. There is a folkish, down-to-earth vibe right away, which is fitting for a film that was originally meant to take place in the deep American South. And that is what Robin Hood is on the surface, a silly, down-to-earth folk tale made to entertain children. The love that was put into doing this oozes out of every frame, so much so that I, instead of just smiling, found myself tearing up as a grown adult. It was that which has had me on a mission to unravel what made this film such an enduring classic. There is an innocent air, a simple world where children of the movie feel truly like children, living out a wholesome life among the backdrop of oppression. They feel and face troubles, but the adults still find a way to craft a space in a world where imaginations can still soar, where kids play and emulate their heroes, giggle, get embarrassed about kisses, and can still see hope and joy in a dark world. I found this especially endearing to watch as Miss Cluck and Maid Marian played pretend with the children by acting out the stories of the original plot. Robin Hood storms the castle, fights Prince John's guards, defeats the usurper king, and makes off with the damsel. This brings us to something important about this film, because that is not how this rendition ends. There is something you quickly learn when you really dig into stories and ancient myths, and that is that none of them is a monolith. From the creation stories of ancient religions to folk legends like Romulus and Remus, Paul Bunyan, Beowulf, and Robin Hood, or fairy tales of Grimm's, they have been told and retold, changed, edited, and sometimes they are not created by one person, but a lineage of storytellers. Disney has always been in the business of changing the stories they use, but most of the time changes are purely for audience sensibilities because most parents aren't going to take their children to Cinderella if her stepsisters are carving flesh off their heels in an attempt to fit the glass slipper. This, however, is clearly not what is done in the case of Robin Hood. I could go into a lot. I could talk about how the voice acting of Brian Bedford as a classically trained Shakespearean actor led to some of the most heartfelt deliveries given in a children's film. I could wax lyrical about the beautiful simplistic art style and direction, the music, the relationships, and the rest. But what really shocked me about this movie was that what they changed about the story and the tools they used to deliver it in a manner that breaks into true genius. The story, in simple form, is this. Prince John is a tyrant ruler who has usurped his brother's position by tricking him into going on those silly crusades. John has since taxed the citizens of the country and of Nottingham in particular into destitution. Robin Hood has been robbing Prince John and those who can afford it and giving it back to the poor. Prince John wants to capture and execute Robin, and so he uses people as bait to lure him in. First, he uses Maid Marian, but when Robin escapes with her from the archery tournament, he becomes enraged by the failure and the subsequent ridicule. He then taxes the entire town into jail, and finally sentences Friar Tuck to death to once again attempt to lure Robin Hood in. Robin saves the friar and the rest of the town. King Richard then returns from the Crusades, and all turns out well as Robin and Marian ride off in marriage while Prince John labors on a chain gang. There are several layers of tools the writers and character design artists use, however, to deliver this, and thus create something incredibly deep and yet immediately subconsciously recognizable. The tools they use here are archetypes, personification, primarily through anthropomorphic design, and a deeply rich mythological legacy and symbolic language. Archetypes as we know them in storytelling originates from the works of C.G. Jung, the psychological analyst who created that subject of clinical psychology and therapy. Archetypes are basic symbols of personality and function. The archetypes are ones like the hero, the herald, the mentor, the ally, shadow, trickster, shapeshifter. And if you know what to look for, you will find them everywhere in stories. There are others as well, such as the lovers, the tyrant, the just king, the warring twins, the martyr, the redeemer, the serpent, and so on. Weaved into the archetypes is then the anthropomorphic personifications that both inform and even clash in contrast between each other. Robin is the hero, but he is also a trickster. So he is a fox, and so Maid Marian is the anima to Robin Hood, turning them into the destined pair as the lovers. Little John is a bear, sturdy and dependable in every way, as a friend, as a personality, as a place of stability in the story. He is the quintessential ally and comrade. He is to Robin what Samwise is to Frodo, what Silent Bob is to Jay, or Red is to Andy Dufresne. The family are like a single unit, as a burrow of rabbits. Alan and Dale, the rooster, waltzes in front of the proverbial stage and introduces the story, heralding the dawn of the film. The sheriff is a wolf, the perfect image of a government which has become a predator. And as you might have noticed, I've left out a few, because it is 3 specific characters that take a good film and turn it into a masterpiece. Prince John, Sir Hiss, and Friar Tuck. Prince John is the only character archetyped against the traditional nature of his personification. As a lion, he should be lordly, mighty, the king of the jungle commanding respect, but because he is not, because he is scrawny and vain, he clashes against the role both as a lion and as a king. He drowns in his robes, and his brother's crown slides down his head. His relationship to his brother harkens back to the ancient myths of Egypt, of Horus dismembered by his tyrant brother Set, who he was too blind to see would betray him. Disney then, whether on purpose or by divine inspiration, weaves in with the central myth of the story of Robin Hood with the Christian ethos. Sir Hiss is Prince John's advisor. He is the serpent, the devil on his shoulder. He is his Jiminy Cricket and his conscience, the serpentine advisor, the slithering whisperer who fooled the woman and man in Eden, is a powerful archetype that you might recognize in someone like Grima Wormtongue. Ultimately, Robin Hood is about the story of a tyrant, the people he oppresses, and the hero who saves them. But then there is something that is being said far more when the lowest point of the movie is not this, or this, but this. The town has suffered much up until this point. They have had their livelihoods taxed away, and now they languish in jail, starving with only crumbs to share. We enter the castle to see something that feels jarringly out of place in such a cheery children's film. The fixed, enraged scowl of Prince John. Prince John is a proud man scorned. He suffers from the chief most sin, Christianity, from pride. His pride has consumed him, body and soul, leaving a visage of Satan upon his face. John is not satisfied with all the gold in the world. He is not satisfied with his retribution against the townsfolk. There is no act, no wealth, no power that will satiate his malice. Pride gets no pleasure out of having something, only out of having more of it than the next person. We say that people are proud of being rich or clever or good-looking, but they are not. They are proud of being richer or cleverer or better-looking than others. If everyone else became equally rich or clever or good-looking, there would be nothing to be proud about. Prince John can have no satisfaction until he has Robin Hood, until everyone is beneath him, where his pride is safe at the top of the pile. And it's in this state that he makes his most depraved decision, using Friar Tuck as bait to lure Robin Hood in. The darkest moment of the film is not reached until this last act of ultimate evil, until Prince John, the tyrannical state, sentences Friar Tuck to death and thus elevates himself above God. Friar Tuck holds a far more important role than he appears to. Though he is often a mentor to Robin and an ally, The animal chosen for Friar Tuck, a badger, lives deep underground in burrows and tunnels at the root of the community. Through this, we learn the deeper message this movie is teaching us, children and adults alike. A tyrant is a fool beneath the station they hold, led by the chief most of all sins, pride. The tyrant forgoes their conscience for deceit and self-aggrandizement, and often ignores even their own warnings, foolishly believing they are above everyone. This pride warps and twists them until they place themselves above all, including God. God is the foundation and the roots of the community, and it is then the duty of every hero to stand up, resist this tyrant, and return the world to its natural order, where truth and the good sit upon the highest throne. It is pride which has been the chief cause of misery in every nation and every family since the world began. Other vices may sometimes bring people together. You may find good fellowship and jokes and friendliness among the drunken people or unchaste people, but pride always means enmity. It is enmity. Not only enmity between man and man, but enmity to God. In God, you come up against something which is in every aspect immeasurably superior to yourself. Unless you know God as that, and therefore know yourself as nothing in comparison, you do not know God at all. As long as you are proud, you cannot know God. A proud man is always looking down on things and people, and of course, as long as you are looking down, you cannot see something that is above you. C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. There is something intensely satisfying in seeing such a well-crafted series of characters who, under all of the gags and absurdities, lay host to a deep well of meaning. There is something subconsciously in us as children and adults that responds to these symbols and the truth they tell us about ourselves and each other. And there is something special when someone in the line of telling the story creates something just a little more powerful. That is what makes Robin Hood so enduring. It's not simply a children's movie. It is an expertly crafted fable, told and evolved by a deep lineage of storytellers. It is a true homage to an ancient legacy.